Ladies and sinners, welcome to another edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It's not just one other edition. It's the 50th edition, officially, right? That's a milestone, correct? 50 episodes. This show has been live for almost a year, if in terms of, we missed a few weeks here and there because of work and life and all that other jazz. But we're looking at the 50th episode. The 50th episode here in IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're back at it again every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, on Spreaker, on all platforms. Honestly, you can find us anywhere. You search us. We're on YouTube. We post on YouTube almost after every show. It's almost like instantly we post on YouTube. So go back, review as many shows as you want, because guess what? We are all about Vegas sports. And honestly, today we're going to dive into a little bit more of the NFL draft, the prospects that are out there. I'd like to do a bit of a deeper dive into the prospects that are out there. If anybody in IE Sports Radio is listening, if you guys want to tweet me your team, ask me what I think your team should be looking at. But this is that month, man. This is draft month. With 3 weeks, we have the NFL draft, one of the biggest sporting events in the world. And it's legitimately just a draft. No other business in the world promotes bringing on future stars better than the NFL does. So we're going to touch base on that. No more than touch base. We're going to go a little bit in depth. I got a Raiders mock draft that's up on the SinCity_IESR Twitter page. SinCity_IESR Twitter page. Had some really good players added there. I think they're players that'll really reshape the foundation of the roster. When we get back, we're going to do a deep dive. We got the Golden Knights playing tonight. Going to give you live updates. But when we get back, we're going to go right into Golden Knights, straight in the NFL draft prospects, and we're going to finish up the night talking Raiders mock draft, because we're just 3 weeks away from the most important draft in recent Raiders history. When we get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. And welcome back, folks, to IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're back at it again, folks. Back at it again. We do it every Tuesday evening here, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we do it here on the platform IE Sports Radio. For 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers, the first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, hosted by the CEO, the founder, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Larry B. His show is The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. No news on the MLB, Major League Baseball front, by the way, folks. I kind of want to touch base on that. Major League Baseball to Vegas. It's taken longer than what we expected. I know that Las Vegas made a pitch to the Athletics. Major League Baseball is doing almost anything and everything they can. Rob Manfred waived the relocation fees, which we're talking about $200 million that the Major League Baseball or Major League Baseball themselves, the league, would love that kind of money, right? They'd love to take that money in. They're waiving those fees, a lot like what the NFL did for the Raiders, right? I think they waived the fees. If not, they gave them a huge discount because it is such a lucrative market right now. Like the Golden Knights are killing it. The Lady Aces are killing it, right? And they're a WNBA team. They don't make a lot of money. They don't make a ton of money, but they make more money than most WNBA teams, and it's because they are an attraction. They are something that 47 million people that travel to the city of Las Vegas have an opportunity to see every year, right? Whether you go multiple times, whatever. The point is 47 million people visit Las Vegas, Nevada every single year because of tourism. And what you're telling me is that another sports league could come in and try and benefit from that, because the main attraction right now, if we're being honest from a sports perspective, the two main attractions are the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, they're a bunch of losers. We're going to touch base on that. Mark Davis admitted that. We're going to touch base on that as well. But you have the Golden Knights, who have been a perennial playoff contender and a team that has been to the NHL Finals, Stanley Cup Finals, 2 out of the 5 years. And they very well could possibly be there this year. Because with the Golden Knights in mind, they are currently tied 2-2 with 17 minutes left in the third period against the Predators. They're on the road in Nashville. Nashville's never an easy team to play, by the way. Never an easy team. And the Golden Knights are hanging tight. They're currently on a win streak. Currently on a win streak. I want to say, if I remember correctly, they're currently on a 2-game win streak. They've won 7 out of their last 10 games. Today would be 8 out of 10, obviously. They have already clinched the playoff position. And as of right now, as long as things, continue to trend in the way they're trending, they're going to have the number 1 seed in the West. Because the Dallas Stars are at 98, Wild are at 98, Avalanche, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah, they're going to win their division. They're probably going to have the number 1 seed in the West. If you were in the Eastern Conference, the Golden Knights would not be the number 1 seed, because the Boston Bruins, again, I still need Adam Karnick to chime in. Actually, I'm not even going to wait. I'm going to get on band. I'm going to ask Adam Karnick, hey, are the Bruins going for a single season points record? I mean, folks, when you get a chance, make sure you're looking at the standings of the NHL. If you want to see by the way, the NHL playoffs are probably the best thing to watch on TV when the NHL playoffs are going on. There's nothing more entertaining than watching an NHL playoff game. It's crazy. It's absolutely competitive. It's a slobber knocker. I don't like their overtime rules. They're lame. They're really lame. They're boring. They could keep you up till 4 a.m. sometimes. Trust me, as a Ducks fan, I witnessed that a couple times against the Chicago Blackhawks. But I'm being real with you folks. The NHL is the most underrated sport in America. It doesn't make any sense. Hockey is the most underrated sport in America. It's probably the most expensive sport in America, but it's the most underrated by far. The Golden Knights are kicking ass, taking names. Right now, they're the number 1 seed in the West, and they're tied 2-2 with a very good Preds team. Let's see here. The Predators, the Nashville Predators, are currently, well, I guess they're not as good as years past, but they're still a winning team. 38, 30, and 8. So, I mean, they got 84 points. They're likely out of the playoff race. There's no doubt about that. Unless they completely win out and surpass the Avalanche. I don't see that happening, because the Avalanche have a pretty good lead on them. Pardon me. But still, the Predators have a winning record. And it's kind of crazy when you look at the West. A lot of the teams have a winning record, man. And you're going to see some teams that are outside looking in, even with winning records. It's pretty nuts. I don't know if I've seen a disparity like this, or such a, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've seen this many winning teams competing for a playoff push in the NHL, not, at least not in a while. Currently asking Adam Karnick, are the Bruins going for a single season points record? Okay. I'm asking him because he's the hockey know-it-all, right? He's the host of the Neutral Zone. I want to say hi before I get into that. I want to say hi to Taryn Rodriguez, who's always a great teammate. Tunes in. Davidson, what's up, brother? It's been a while since I've seen you on, man. What's good? How are things with you? Hope you chime in and give me that answer. I know you're always kicking ass and taking names. Always kicking ass and taking names. Thanks, Larry. 50th episode. Can you believe it? I want to tune in. I'm going to give him some love real quick. I know Larry's the founder. He's the CEO. He's the man, the myth, the legend himself. I think he's too hard on himself. He's got a lot of things going on in life right now, and while running a radio station, getting his certification to be a teacher, he's just a badass human being, and he still finds time to reach out to his employees. I'm technically his employee, and tell me the good and bad things of the show. So far, there really hasn't been many bad things, so he's been so great and gracious. I do find it a privilege that he reached out to me about a year ago and said, hey, we're about to cover Vegas sports. I don't really know if anybody better could do that than you. Would you be willing to find the time? Absolutely. He bent over backwards to make sure I had a Tuesday night show because it's literally the only night I have free in my life, my busy life. Just to give you guys an idea, like he's crazy busy. I'm crazy busy too. I work, 40 to 50 hours a week in sales. On top of that, I'm running a youth football program. I'm an ambassador for it. I'm a board member of the Youth Football League here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then on top of that, I took on, wide receivers coaching position at a brand new high school that hasn't even launched yet, right? It hasn't even opened yet. So we're building a program, a football program that is only accepting freshmen and sophomores this year at Standing Bear High School here in Lincoln, Nebraska. If you guys get a chance, take a look at it. We're going to be the Standing Bear Grizzlies. Their jerseys are dope as hell. I've seen them. Their helmets are dope as hell. We got a Carolina blue charcoal gray look, which it's amazing. It looks fantastic. I know we're going to be really flashy. We're really excited because we're going to be one of the only teams in Nebraska that run the air raid, and it's going to be primarily air raid. Like we're going nuts. I've been very blessed this year. I may not be making as much money as I would years past, but I'm telling you, man, it's been a great year. I got a great woman in my life who's very supportive. She loves the idea that I'm on a radio show and that I'm never home, maybe because she loves her alone time. Just kidding. But she's very supportive of football. She's very supportive of my job. Um, and she's very supportive of this. She thinks it's really cool. So I want to thank Larry for getting me on here, man. It's been 50 episodes. It's been a lot of fun. I guess it hasn't been 50 episodes just yet until the finish. Once we get to the finish, we'll get there. Davidson, it is Class A, so it would be the equivalent of 6A in Texas, basically. Only our kids are just not as big because they don't train for football and everything else year round. But I know that we have some teams that could probably compete. Maybe not at the highest level of Texas football, but pretty close. But yeah, it would be considered 6A. Class A would be considered 6A in your normal states. Class B 5A, Class C 1 or C2. I mean, you're looking at 3A, 2A. You get what I'm saying. That's kind of how Nebraska does it. It's in the middle of the United States. Nobody has any checks and balances here. Davidson, you graduated from Bellevue West in 2006. Okay. So I am so glad. This is so weird. What a small world. What an amazing segue, too. We're talking about Standing Bear football. So I'm going to tell you right now, man, when I sat down with the head coach of Standing Bear, Adam Schultz, you guys can look him up. He's an NFL vet. He played for 3 different teams. He's got a ton of experience. The man sat down with me for 3 interviews. He complimented me heavily. I told him my weaknesses are, sometimes I just got to do a better job of communicating what I want to do. But I told him my strengths are high football IQ, and he'll never question that. So far, he's been very complimentary, but he brought me on as a guy who's been in youth football for like 8 years, high school for 2, played a couple years of college ball. He straight up said, hey, man, I want you to come in and help Ron Kellogg, who is our offensive coordinator and former Nebraska Cornhusker. I want you to help him build the offense. Why that's important, why we brought that up, Davidson, Bellevue West is one of the only teams in Nebraska that run the air raid. And Bellevue West wins a hell of a lot of games, and they bring in a lot of high-level recruits. I think it's Bell West and Bennington, which is 15 minutes west of Omaha. They are absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I think Bell West is a huge reason. They were my inspiration, man. When I saw it, I went out and got the air raid certification. I studied their film for 5 years worth of film, and I said, oh my God, this is like almost impossible to stop. And honestly, it's one of the only offenses where you don't have to ask the linemen to be superstars. You get the ball out quick to playmakers, and you let them do the work. And that's kind of what I told them. Like, that's what Lincoln, Nebraska is sorely lacking. We're just not throwing the ball enough. I think high school football in general needs to do a better job of throwing the football. It is doing a better job, as you can see with the evolution of college sports. But yeah. Oh, Davidson said we were running the air raid and I played. Yeah, that same coach has been there a while, man. I think he's a Hal Mummy disciple. I think he took the air raid certification because I've seen his name on the air raid certification courses as a graduate, someone who's spent years in. I mean, he's one of the higher tier air raid coaches. Your head coach or your former head coach at Bell West, he's a big inspiration as to why I really got into it, man. I saw what Bell West was doing. I see all the Division I caliber athletes, Division II caliber athletes that they attract, and honestly, to me, man, that's a huge reason. I said, what does Lincoln not have? An air raid team. What does Bellevue West do better than everybody else in Omaha? Move the ball, score points, and compete, and win a lot of games, and bring in athletes that want to play. right now Lincoln's in a really weird spot where when I played high school in '09, right? When I played high school in '09, there were closed districts. You had to fill out waiver forms in order to play wherever you wanted to play. Now it's open, like Omaha is. So we have the ability to show up, and with just freshmen and sophomores, build a program from the ground up that is really attractive to people who want to transfer there and who want to win games and be a part of a brotherhood, be a part of something special. We're in a really good neighborhood. Like that's also a privilege. It's in an area where there's some very middle to upper middle class homes, so we know we're gonna have great. Yep, Coach Feynman, you're 100% correct. He is in the Air Raid certification database. He's a badass. 100%. Thanks, Davidson. Man, it's such a small world, dude. That's so badass. That's so badass. It's good to hear, man. Former fellow Nebraskan. I love it. I love it, Davidson. Thanks so much for tuning in, man. Let me know who your favorite NFL team is, man. I got a draft thing going on tonight. I'd be happy to tell you, what we're looking at from a athlete's perspective, because it can't always be about the Raiders, It's embarrassing to always talk about the Raiders and see how bad they play. Yeah, guys got waivers easily. It just depends. So, but Lincoln was weird because Lincoln had a rule where if you, yes, correct, Tennessee Titans are your team. Oh, I thought you were talking about, so Andy Schultz, former Tennessee Titan tight end, he's the head coach there at Standing Bear. He's the guy who hired me. Great dude, super nice guy, wonderful family, super cool people. But yeah, Tennessee Titans. Oh, you guys need an offensive tackle really bad. Like really bad. You guys could probably trade up to get one of these big name quarterbacks too for the future, because I don't know if Willis is it. Sorry, I might have got his name wrong, butchers his name, but I don't know if the guy you got in the third round is it. It'd be interesting to find out if they're really sold on him. But the fact that they're bringing back Tannehill tells me that guy isn't ready yet. He isn't right where they wanted him to be. So it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee trades up and gets their guy, but at the same time, you guys have needs to fill, and offensive tackle is a big one. That is the rumor. We may trade up to 3. And the scary part is, even if you trade up to 3, you're probably not going to get the top 2 guys. But I will say this, Anthony Richardson gives you a ton of upside to be happy about, because he doesn't have to play right away. Again, you could sit him behind Tannehill for a year, a lot like what Patrick Mahomes did for Alex Smith. You could sit him behind there and then build the roster around that, and ready to have a rookie contract, and just let the guy ball out, man. Let him do his thing. Let him run the ball. I think that would be a great move for the Tennessee Titans. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Carthen says, hey, Ron Carthen says, you know what, maybe we need to stay put and get an offensive tackle. Because with Taylor Lewan gone, man, that's a huge void to fill. I know he didn't play up to where you guys wanted to be with injuries, and honestly, there were a few years with bad teams with him on it. But other than that, man, Taylor Lewan was a really good player for you guys. I'd love to see you guys find a replacement or an upgrade there in the draft. Golden Knights are still tied 2-2. 8 minutes left in the third period. With that said, we're going to go to break. I'm going to play some drops for my favorite teammates here on IE Sports Radio. When we get back, we're going to dive right into the NFL draft prospects. NFL draft prospects, the big board, what PFF has there, because yes, I went and paid for PFF. I do value a lot of their information, but we're going to dive right into that draft board. We're going to talk about team needs. I know Larry B's team is the Raiders. Taron Rodriguez's team is the Chargers. And then we got the Tennessee Titans. I'd be happy to hash out all of those when we get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS. Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome, white tee. They are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and sinners, welcome back to the 50th episode of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You folks can get at us on our Twitter forums, at SinCity_IESR and at Cale_Henderson, where we talk all things Vegas sports. Honestly, all things like current events and in sports and that jazz. Sometimes current events out there. We talk about, honestly, whatever we feel is pertinent. And we have a great time doing it. For 50 episodes, we've had a great time doing it. And I feel like we've been one of the better shows in Vegas. Honestly. Comparing budget, showmanship, tonality, quality of information. We've been a kick-ass Vegas show. And we got to get put on the map, folks. We need more retweets. We need more likes on YouTube, shares on YouTube. Doing that pushes this show in a new direction, in a better direction. More good things to come, and we'll talk about that as we go. But I just want to say, it's been a ride. It's been a lot of fun. Let's keep this going. Let's go 50 more. Let's just do it. Let's just go 50 more. See where it takes us. Then 50 after that. Well, maybe not full commitment, but you guys get what I'm saying. 50 down, 50 more to go. Let's have fun. That's what this is about. We're having fun here on the Sin City Sports Show at IE Sports Radio. Kicking ass and taking names. Golden Knights still tied at 2 with the Nashville Predators. Game is a really tight game. I mean, they're playing really well together. I can actually see it in the screen. They're skating around quite a bit. It's a bit of a warpath. Honestly, going into extra time, getting to OT is a win. Honestly, it's a W for Vegas. because it allows them to maintain at least a 2-point lead. At least. Because they can either win and get 2 points or lose in OT and get 1 point, and they still maintain a 2-game lead over the second place team, which is the Kings. I'm good with that. I'll keep you guys updated as we go. NFL Draft. The NFL Draft is right around the corner, folks. It is 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away. No, Davidson, thank you, man. Davidson, just for you folks to know, I know I typed it, but I'm going to say it out here for the listeners out there. Davidson Crooks is the host of Fast Break, IE Sports Radio premier basketball show. So if you guys, and I'm sure he covered the crap. I know he did. As a matter of fact, I know he covered the crap out of March Madness. He's a big NBA guy. If you guys want a educated, a very well thought out basketball opinion, go to Davidson. He's got you. He's a Titans fan. We won't hold that against him. While we're on the NFL draft board, I mean, let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the Titans. To me, their biggest need right now, in my opinion, because you have Ryan Tannehill in place, so you could still win games. Derrick Henry is still one of those teams where you're like, I don't know what's happening. I'll be real, it's kind of nerve-wracking. I don't know what a Titans team without Derrick Henry is going to look like, but it is what it is. But I think there's a couple things that Tennessee could go. Offensive tackle is probably the number one need to me. You guys got to replace Taylor Lewan if you're going to keep like that Vrabel style team, that smash mouth, we're going to run it, be physical down your throat type of team. You need to make sure your bookends are taken care of. And I think that's something that Tennessee really needs to focus on this offseason. There's really good tackles in this draft, but they're primarily first round. Davidson said, yeah, that was my second. Davidson said, me personally, I say wide receiver. Tackle is second. You could argue both, man. Honestly, like they're 1A, 1B. No joke. I'm just big on the fronts. I've always been a fronts guy. You're going to go as far as your offensive line takes you in this league. There's no joke. If you have a bad offensive line and an elite quarterback, you have an average quarterback, if that makes sense. Middle of the pack guy, and it's not even his fault, which is frustrating. It's the front office's fault. So I usually tend to focus on the front. We signed Andre Dillard in free agency. I get that. For me, Andre is probably in our right tackle. You guys need to solidify that left tackle spot if you can. If you can. Peter Skronsky is probably low-hanging fruit. I personally think that he's not going to be there if you guys continue to pick at 13, because I think that's where you guys pick is at 13. So if Peter Skronsky's gone, Paris Johnson Jr. is gone, which would be my pick if I were you guys, and he's there and he's available. He's young. He's 21 years old. He's 6'6", 313. He is a prototypical left tackle. Like, he's a guy that you guys could really benefit from. And then putting Andre Dillard on the other side, 100%. Pick at 11. Okay. So, yeah, if we're being real, yeah, 13 is the Jets. You are correct. Sorry about that. 11. So, Skronsky is a possibility. But I do see a team probably valuing him somewhere in the top 10. I mean, if you guys are not really high on Paris Johnson, then so you went out and got Treylon Burks last year, right? You went out and got that big physical style receiver. I really like Quentin Johnson, but I think you have that style of receiver on your team. If I were the Tennessee Titans, I would probably take Jackson Smith and Jigba. I really would. I'd look into that. If you're at 11 and Paris Johnson, if you're just not in love with Paris Johnson, I am. I think he's a great left tackle. He's going to be a left tackle for years to come. If you're not in love with Paris Johnson, take Jackson. 100% take Jackson. It wouldn't surprise me if a team does. Jackson Smith and Jigba is nuts, man. Like the stuff he's been able to do. He didn't test the combine, but he's going to test well. And honestly, to me, like you could put him anywhere. You could use him as a slot. You could use him a lot like Chris Olave. He doesn't have quite the speed as Chris Olave did coming out of the draft, but I can tell you right now, he's going to have the same value for the Titans. He's a guy you can play in the slot. You know, you can play Treylon as that big possession guy that averages 15 to 16 yards a target, where there's Jackson that you can feed, 8 to 10 times a game in the slot. On the outside, just picking on people, getting them on the move. I think one of the things that I don't believe offensive coordinators do well enough in the NFL is taking rookies and just moving them around. Like, imagine if the Chiefs, instead of just having, Tyreek Hill on the outside. Imagine if they would have moved him around 90% of the plays. Like, what a nightmare that would have been for receivers. I'm not putting Jackson Smith and Jigma in that kind of impact player status, but it doesn't mean they can't use him to his full potential. I totally believe that Jackson would put your guys' offense in a really good state. And even with Tannehill, who I think has taken a step back, I've never really been high on him. I think he's benefited from an excellent offensive line. They're usually top 10, with the exception of last year. They're usually a top 10 offensive line. And Derrick Henry, of course. I think Tannehill has benefited from that. A.J. Brown when he was there, Delaney Walker when he was there. Tannehill had the luxury of having those guys and a really good team around him. Adding Jackson is going to help Tannehill tremendously. He's going to allow him to stay. So if the Titans don't trade up, that's who I'd go for. 100% go for. Looking at the draft board as a whole, I think we can all agree who the best player in this draft is, right? It's Jalen Carter. What's the problem? In his game, there's no problems. In his game, he's the best overall player in this draft, by far. In his game, according to PFF, he had a 92.3 overall grade. Like, he's a spectacular player. He was dominant for Georgia. Absolutely dominant. Like, nobody could stop him. Even in the national title game, he was wreaking havoc. He's 6'3", 314 pounds. He could play three technique. He could play that nose tackle position, that traditional nose tackle position. He's one of those guys. He's going to cause problems for years. And no one is going to be able to stop him. His pass rush win rate was around 17%. His true pass rush grade, so meaning people knew that they were going to rush the passer, he received a 91.1 overall grade. His run defense, 91, was actually better than his pass rush grade overall, which tells me he's the most complete player that you can find. He had a 73 and 71 rating. 90, 73, and 71 to cap off the season. Actually, let's just go ahead. I'm going to tell you how it works, right? This is what we're looking at. Okay. Tennessee, 92.3. Now, don't get me wrong. Tennessee's offensive line was not very good. Hendon Hooker was running for his life. Even though they played really well, he was running for his life a little bit this year. 91.1 against Mississippi State. Not a very good team. Kentucky, not a very good offensive line. I get it. Georgia Tech, really bad offensive line. All of these games, 79 plus as far as the rating. Mississippi State and Tennessee, 92, 91. LSU was 90.2. LSU had a good football team. They really did. They whomped LSU. He was dominant in those games. Against really, really good teams in the college football playoff, against a quality offensive line that's full of 4- and 5-star players in Ohio State, 73.4. TCU, 71.3. Dominant. He's just a dominant player. He's the best player in this draft. There's no arguing it. Jalen's issue are legal issues right now. Now, it sounds like both charges are going to just be misdemeanors. So if a team is comfortable with taking him in the top 10, I think it's going to happen. It wouldn't surprise me if he's top 7. I still find it hard to believe that he's going to make it past 6. Something tells me a team's going to trade up and grab him. He's a very good player. Like, he's an elite prospect. One of the better defensive tackles we've seen in a while. And I just find it hard to believe. Like, he was better than Jordan Davis from last year, and Jordan Davis got all the hoopla, right? Jalen's a monster. He's dominant. So he's going to get a lot of love. I think the number 2 rated player, some people may not agree with me. That's fine. I don't really care. Will Anderson, to me, is my number 2 rated player. Isn't it kind of weird? Defensive lineman, pass rushers is what we're looking at. Explosive. He's an explosive player. He's got one of the better pass rush grades in this draft. He was molded by Nick Saban. 6'3", 253. He ran a 4.6 40 at 253 pounds, man. Like, what? A 4.6 40. That's crazy. I don't, in my mind, I don't see him making it past Arizona unless somebody trades up to Arizona. Arizona's spot for a quarterback. Arizona's desperate for pass rush right now. Davidson Crooks chimes in and says, do you think Detroit is going to take him with Dan Campbell hard stance on players with outside issues? No, I don't. I mean, man, Talent changes everything, right? Tyreek Hill's a perfect example. Guy's a scumbag. We know what he did. Everyone knows what he did. He beat up a pregnant woman. I mean, and he still got a chance to play in the league. Talent matters, but if that's their stance, I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit goes corner. Wouldn't be surprised at all. It makes a lot of sense, honestly, for them to go corner. If you could get somebody on the other side of Okuda like Devin Witherspoon, dude, what? Like Detroit slowly and slower and slower, like turning into like a really, really good team. Don't even be surprised if Detroit trades out. They traded up last year. They were crazy good about going out and trading up last year and getting their guy. Don't be surprised if they trade back and get more draft picks. They're in a position where they can do that. They have a good team. They have a good foundation. Don't be surprised if Detroit trades out. But if I'm Detroit, and yeah, you're really worried. If you're really worried, and if that's your stance, take Devin Witherspoon. You're not going to go wrong there. He's a franchise level corner. Like he's got one of the best grades we've seen in a long time. He's excellent. He's a great player. He's a Lovie Smith level corner, man. Lovie just knew what to do when he was looking at Illinois corners, because even his buddy on the other side of the other side of him, who was hurt most of the year, who I've picked on majority of my mock drafts, he's still a hell of a corner. He was graded really high. He's just not Devin Witherspoon. Would I pass on Jalen Carter? No, I wouldn't pass on Jalen Carter. I would say, hey, you know what? Yes, I made that statement. Jalen's a really talented player. I'm not going to lie. This is what I'd say if I'm Dan Campbell, because he's a no-nonsense guy. I'm definitely a no-nonsense guy. I would straight up say Jalen's just a really talented guy. We talked to him. We've told him, hey, we're going to hold you to a standard. You're not on thin ice, but we want to guide you in the right direction. We no longer want to see what's going on here. We're bringing you here because you're a talented guy. Show us that you're a mature guy. Show us that you're a team guy. That's what I would say if I'm the Detroit Lions. And Jalen Carter shouldn't take offense to that. He should take that first round, top 6 money and run with it. Okay? That's what I would say if I'm the Detroit Lions. I would draft Jalen Carter if he's still available. If he's not, and that's truly your stance, go get Devin Witherspoon, because Will Anderson's going to be gone. Pardon me. I'm a number 3 overall athlete in this draft. You guys are going to think I'm crazy. It's okay. I don't quite agree with PFF, but I'm cool with it. My number 3 overall player in this draft is Devin Witherspoon. Like, I'm dominating the top 3 picks with defense because they're all profound players. Then I could easily go CJ Stroud. I think Bryce Love is probably the most polished quarterback in this draft because of his success and what he did. But CJ Stroud showed us a lot of moxie. He's got the size. He's got the arm strength. The way he played against Georgia was fantastic. He didn't lose the game against Georgia. The kicker did. Right? The kicker was horrible. Let's be honest. The defense allowed a ton of points. Ohio State's defense did. Not CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud played the way we needed him to play in that college football playoff game. Ohio State should have won that game. He played out of this world, and they were in the position to be better. His last 2 years have been 92.2 and 88.9. He's one of the top quarterbacks we've seen in a while. I really like him, honestly. That's why I have him at 4. I have Bryce Love at 5 because of their polish, because of what I believe they will be franchise quarterbacks. Like, if Bryce Young doesn't get picked, I personally think C.J. Stroud is picked at 1. I don't know why the Panthers would trade up and take a risk on Richardson. I get his upside. It doesn't make sense. CJ's right there. You have a good team with a young defense. You can build around CJ. You have a rebuilt offensive line. Go with it. Take CJ Stroud. Bryce Young is going to benefit from being a Texan. I think he'll be a Texan. I have no problem saying that. I think the Texans are a team that's on the up and up. They're going to have multiple first-round picks the next 2 years. Like, they're stacked with picks. And they're Nick Cassiri is a former Patriot. They're great with picks. You know, honestly, I haven't seen a Patriot GM or former Patriot GM that hasn't picked well. Chris Ballard does an excellent job in Indy. His issue has been finding a quarterback, right? I really like Nick Cassiri. I think Dave Ziegler's doing an excellent job in Las Vegas, believe it or not. I think you sold Raiders fans a bill of goods they can't cash, but it is what it is. Like, that's where we're at. I think that these Patriots GMs know how to build a roster. I think Nick Casseri is going to take Bryce Young in number 2, and he's going to love it. He's not going to care at all. They're going to win a lot of games with him there, because that even though Trevor Lawrence is taking over that AFC South division, the Texans are going to be a very good team here soon, because they have a plethora of draft picks to build their foundation around and build up. I like DeMeco Ryans as a hire. I really do. I like DeMeco Ryans as a hire, man. I think he's an excellent coach. He's going to bring a defensive mentality. He's a former Texan. What I don't like are the optics. Like, the Texans look like racists. Like, let's be real. Yes, they're hiring African American coaches, but they're firing them after 1 year when the team is absolute dog shit, and it's like there's nothing they can do. Lovey got screwed, man. In my opinion, Lovey Smith got screwed. The coach before him, apologies, I don't quite know his name. I know he was a very well respected coach in the league. The African American coach that was hired before Lovey Smith, he got screwed, because those teams the last 2 years were absolutely horrible. Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, Sean McVay, those guys couldn't have won with that roster, and I find it hard to believe that they would have been fired after 1 year, for obvious reasons. Not just because that they're legends. David Culley got screwed as well. I agree. I 100% agree. And the commonality here, Davidson, and I hate to say this because I'm not that guy. I don't usually just point to race. But there's no way Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, or Sean McVay get fired after year 1 with that roster. I just don't see it. And the Texans are that team that happen to have the owner that says, well, you don't let the inmates run the clubhouse or whatever it is, the prison, during that really sensitive time during the kneeling. So, I mean, the jury's out. I have no problem saying it. The Texans are going to go after Bryce Young, though. It's going to be he's the most polished passer. It would be such a Texans move if they drafted Will Levis. Again, for obvious reasons. Not that Will Levis doesn't have a strong arm. He does. He's got an impressive arm. He's got an impressive build. But if they don't take Bryce Young and they were to take Will Levis, it would be for obvious reasons. It'd be a lot like the Jets. Remember when that speculation was going out there and Woody Johnson decided to go with Zach Wilson? Just saying. Number 3 overall, or who I think is going to go number 1, let's do the top 10 picks while we're here. Let's just do it, right? Why not? Let's get after it. Let's do the top 10 picks. So I'm going to go ahead and do the mock draft simulator while we're here. And this is the in this order. We have the Panthers, Texans, Cardinals, Indy, Seattle, Detroit, the Raiders, our Las Vegas Raiders, Atlanta Falcons, Chicago Bears, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Those are the top 10 picks. You know, another team, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade up, because the Eagles already have an amazing roster. They already have a really stacked roster. If I were the Eagles, I'd stand pat, because you have 2 picks in the first round. So to take what you can get, right? You're going to get a top 10 pick. You can probably, fill that top 10 pick with a defense. They need a corner really bad. So we'll see what goes here. Let's just go ahead and start the draft. So number 1 overall pick, I think, is going to be C.J. Stroud. I have no problem saying that. The second one, I think, is going to be Bryce Young to the Texans. Third, because of the Jalen Carter BS, if I were the Cardinals, I would have no problem taking Jalen Carter, especially because it sounds like he's going to get misdemeanors. But the NFL is the NFL, and when word is out there that there are teams that are going to step away from him, it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and take Will Anderson at number 3. And I'm going to post this top 10, by the way, to our IE Sports Radio draft board. Maybe I should just do this whole round there, too, by the way, just to see where we're at. The Colts' obvious need is quarterback. If I am the Indianapolis Colts, I am not trusting Will Levis. I just don't see him being that guy. I'm the Indianapolis Colts. Your new head coach is the former offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, who did a great job developing Jalen Hurts the last couple of years. If there was a quarterback in this draft that has more upside than Jalen Hurts does right now, I'm not talking about the human being because Jalen is world class, but upside. It's Anthony Richardson. He's got more size. He's a faster quarterback than Jalen Hurts. He's a better thrower coming out of the draft than Jalen Hurts. If I am the Indianapolis Colts and I understand what my quarterbacks coach / head coach and offensive coordinator, probably play caller, can do, I'm taking Anthony Richardson and I'm developing this kid. I'm taking a chance on this kid because you have an opportunity to build a team around him, Chris Ballard does, on a rookie contract for one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the league. As soon as he's drafted, he's going to be one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the league with the most upside. Here's the thing, his ceiling's so high, right? It's almost untouchable. His floor is really low. Again, it's a bust, it's a legend or bust type situation. But if I'm the Colts, I'm taking the chance. I'm going Anthony Richardson because he's the closest thing to Jalen Hurts. You can build a run game around him. You could rebuild that offensive line. I think they have some receivers that they can build around. That's who I'm going with. The Seattle Seahawks are one of those teams that I could tell you right now. I don't see them draft. I don't see them. Pete Carroll doesn't care about behavior issues. Like, players just zen with him. Unless you're Russell Wilson and a weirdo, Pete Carroll players just love him. Jalen Carter's a perfect fit for me in Seattle. It's going to conflict with my mock draft earlier because that was a mock where I was just a Raiders GM. Jalen Carter was available, I took him. Why wouldn't I? But I just don't see Seattle. I don't see Seattle passing up on him. And I would flip this. If Jalen Carter goes 3, Will Anderson's going 5. Because the Seattle Seahawks, they would love to either trade out with somebody who's super interested in trading up for a quarterback, Will Levis, before another team gets a chance, or they're going to take the best player available on defense because Seattle's always been a big proponent of building defense. Jalen Carter just looks like a Seahawk to me. And this is without any trades involved. I'm just telling you, the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Lions, they're all teams that I could easily see being trade partners moving forward with teams that want to trade up and get a quarterback in the future. But I'm going to take Jalen Carter at 5. No trades factored in, just what we got here on the board. Number 6 is the Detroit Lions. They have a lot of needs. One of their biggest ones is going to be interior pass rush or defensive line. I think you can get that in the second round because they're going to pick early in the second round. What they don't have is an elite corner. Okuda's developing. He's had some injuries, but I don't know if he's elite. Devin Witherspoon would give them bookend corners. That would be a scary situation in the AFC North or NFC North with 2 guys on rookie contracts that could very easily scratch the top 10 in corners in the coming years. It'd be a crazy corner duo. I'm taking Devin Witherspoon if I'm the Detroit Lions. The Raiders. I've said this for weeks. I've said this for more than a month. I think the Raiders should trade out. But what I believe will happen is Will Levis will fall to them. They'll look at that big arm. They'll look at that zip, the velocity. They'll look at the potential. They'll see that Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starter for year 1. And they won't have to push Will right into a situation where he can't win. Because I don't care what anybody says. I don't think the Raiders win more than 6 or 7 games this year. Not in that division, as stacked as it is. And the schedule's not going to be easy either. Right? Because I think they finished, second? No, they finished third. Regardless, I just don't see the Raiders passing on Will Levis. You have the ability to let him sit for a year and learn from Josh McDaniels. And I don't know why I'm blanking all of a sudden. Lombardi. You have an opportunity to groom this kid and get him as many reps on the scout team and everything to see if he's ready. You have Jimmy G for 2 years. Jimmy G is going to tutor this kid. Jimmy G wasn't brought on for any reason. Jimmy G was told, hey, you're going to probably have to help tutor this kid. Brian Hoyer's been brought on for a reason too. He's a vet. He's going to be told, hey, if we bring in a young guy, you got to help them. And Brian Hoyer's a good dude from all we know. Will Levis to me is probably going to be picked by the Raiders. I don't like it. Not a big fan. I think everybody knows that. That's listen to me. But that's where we're at. I just see Will Levis being a Raider. It sucks, but the upside is there, man. The zip on the ball is there. There are a lot of people that believe Will Levis has a ton of potential, and he was overlooked because his offensive line and the weapons just weren't the same in Kentucky this year. So I'm taking Will Levis at 7. Number 8 is the Falcons. They have a lot of needs, in my opinion, as well. It seems as though they want to roll with Ridder, see what he's got for a year. So, I would go with end. I'd take Tyree Wilson because they need pass rush. The Bears. The Bears need offensive line. The Bears need defensive line. They need corner. Skronsky's there. He's a Northwestern kid. He's already near Chi-Town. Makes all the sense in the world. Pick him. The Eagles, knowing from what I know from them, about them, they have 2 really good receivers. They don't necessarily need a third one. It says receivers a need. I feel like they can get a really good player in the 3rd or 4th round at the receiver position. Guard, center, you have your center replacement. I think that's kid out of Nebraska from last year. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on him right now. If I am, Larry says, I'm guessing that's on the Will Levis thing. It's such a Raiders thing to do. Instead of trading out and being smart and gathering more draft picks and just loading up the roster to trade up next year, they would pick Will Levis. But I will say this, Larry, again, it's positive. The positive spin on Will Levis, he's got upside. He's got a cannon. He makes sense for this offense that likes to throw the ball deep and stretch the field. He's got mobility. He's going to be more mobile than Jimmy G and Derek Carr were. He is a better athlete than both of them as of right now. He's a guy that doesn't – he loves the gym. You can tell he loves the gym. He's jacked for his size at 6'4", like 220-some pounds. And then on top of that, I'll say it like this. He doesn't have to start year 1, Larry, unless Jimmy G gets hurt. You don't even have to start him if Jimmy G gets hurt because you have Brian Hoyer. Let him sit a season. That's one thing I don't think enough NFL teams are thinking about, right? Patrick Mahomes benefited the most from anybody in the league. Like, yes, he's an amazing talent. But how good of a situation did Patrick Mahomes get drafted to? The team was built to win now. He learned from Alex Smith. Patrick Mahomes praises Alex Smith almost every chance he can get because he had the ability to sit behind a consummate pro. Let him, not the porn star hunter version of Jimmy G, right? Let Will Levis sit behind Jimmy G, the winner that everyone claims him to be. The system guy that everyone claims him to be. Allow Will Levis to learn from him, and let's see what he's got, man. Let's see what he's got in year 2 or year 3. I totally believe in that because you can build a roster around a rookie contract like that, one that is built on running the football and playing quality defense, something the Raiders have not done for years, period. They haven't played defense. They haven't had a defense ranked better than 20th since the 90s. It's been that pathetic. Sorry. Since 2003, their Super Bowl year. You guys get what I'm saying. Eagles pick at 10. I'm torn here. I think that their defensive line, even though it was heralded and it was such a crazy draft class, I think their defensive line kind of got chewed up last year. Fletcher Cox is getting old. Kalijah Cansey sitting there. I personally don't think that they also need a corner. Oh, man, that's tough. It's so tough because Christian Gonzalez is a stud. They just lost one of their corners in Darius Slay. I'm taking best available. I'm going Christian Gonzalez for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we got the Titans. We were talking to Davidson. He said, hey, because we only got a couple minutes here, and I got to start queuing up the music here. You know how it is. We'll get that top 10 in, but I want to get the Titans in for sure. Titans have a need at wide receiver and offensive line. Otherwise, I think their team is a very solid team. Very solid team. Team that could easily win that division again. Where they go is important. I'm steadfast. I think offensive line is always my move if I have an opportunity to do it. But if you're not in love with Paris Johnson Jr., you take Jackson and Jigba. I'm taking Jackson and Jigba 11 for the Titans because I think you have the big guy in Treylon Burks. Go get that all-can-do-it-all type wide receiver that Tannehill can take advantage of. And the young man that they drafted out in the 3rd round last year, I think he was out of Liberty or whatever it was. Give him a shot. Texans got their 2nd pick. They got the quarterback. Now they need a wide receiver. I'm taking Quentin Johnson. I'm going to take the big dude. I'm going to take the big guy from TCU that was stretching the field and doing big things. All right? Tackle is a big need for the Jets. I'm going to take Paris Johnson Jr. I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to get the left tackle of the future. Mekhi Becton is a beast, but he's not healthy. Quarterback, tackle, edge. Those are big needs for the Patriots. But if you're the Patriots, you're going to go edge because they're just weird, right? Or Kalijah Cansey. Because Kalijah Cansey is a defensive lineman. But we're talking about Bill Belichick. He values pass rush. That kid out of Iowa just looks like a player. Lucas Van Ness. He looks like a Patriot. I'm going to pick him. The Green Bay Packers. They don't have a quarterback problem anymore, right? Jordan Love is their guy. I'm going to take best available here. Kalijah Cansey. Washington, quarterback is a problem. I don't care what anybody says. Sam Howell is not the dude. He's not. But I'm going to continue to build the fronts. I'm going to continue to build this team out. Guess what? I'm going Darnell Wright. Bam. Getting a big tackle out of Tennessee. Pittsburgh. They need a lot of help. You know who looks like a guy that would be a great fit for Pittsburgh? Joey Porter Jr., corner out of Penn State. Former Super Bowl champ's son, Joey Porter. Just saying. It is what it is, folks. We've ran out of time. It's the 50th episode here on IE Sports Radio. This is IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. You guys can pick up our show, listen to our show, watch our show on YouTube, Spreaker. Every 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, every Tuesday evening, we're always rocking Vegas sports, okay? We're going to do a deeper dive into the show or into the big board next week because we're getting closer and closer to the draft. I thank you guys so much for being supporters of the show for 50 episodes. And tune in, man. Like, subscribe, push the show out there because I promise you, the bigger it gets, the more notoriety we're going to get. As always, folks, love, peace, and hair grease.